Hi, my name is Lisa Clegg and I'm a maternity nurse, mum of 3, nanny to 1 and author of The Blissful Baby Expert and The Blissful Toddler Expert. In my job as a maternity nurse, I advise parents all over the world on feeding, sleeping and any area of development really. They say it takes a village to raise a child and a lot of us don't have family or friends close by when our babies are born. So we wanted to create a place where we can all come together, rave about the good and bad parts about being a parent without any judgment, and we hope that it makes our listeners feel like you're not alone and you can use the tips and advice to help with your babies and toddlers. Please be aware that you may on occasion hear some swearing or graphic language. Obviously we will try and keep that to a minimum, but we just wanted to put the disclaimer in just in case we have a little drop every now and again. If there's any subjects you would like us to discuss or any regular features you would like us to do, please send us an email or contact me via Instagram. All the details are in the podcast description and we hope to hear from you soon. Today, our guest on the podcast is Becca. Hi, Becca. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, I'm good, thanks. Now, Becca is one of the mums that I worked with years ago when the book first came out, wasn't it? And your daughter was only, how old was she when you first contacted me? Do you remember?
She was 5 months.
5 months, okay. And you contacted me because you were having sleep issues and just needed some advice with that?
Yeah, massive sleep issues. She was waking up, God, every 20 minutes by the time that I contacted you. I would be up all night, sort of rocking her, and then she'd finally get back to sleep and I'd put her down and I'd get 20 minutes and then, she'd be up again. So absolutely exhausted at the point of,
Yeah.
I found you.
And do you remember kind of how we changed that, you know, what we did to kind of get her sleeping well and how long it took, just to kind of give everybody an idea if they're in that sort of position?
Yeah, we just looked at kind of really gently introducing her into a proper routine of naps rather than just kind of walking around endlessly for hours and hours and hours waiting for her to drop off. A proper routine of food as well and making sure that I knew her cues for hunger rather than just assuming that she was hungry and if she didn't have the milk or whatever, and just making sure that she could settle herself to sleep rather than needing me to sort of endlessly rock her back and forth for hours and hours on end.
Yeah. So previous to that, you hadn't had any sort of structure. You'd just been doing kind of feed and naps different each day and just, you know, going with the flow a bit more, had you?
Yeah, just day to day, whatever I thought was the best. A lot of people just said, that's normal for babies. Babies don't sleep. You knew what you were getting yourself in for, sort of thing. I remember my mum saying, it's, you were never like that, but that doesn't mean that she shouldn't be like that. You've just got a baby that doesn't really sleep. Lucky you.
Yeah. So it's almost deemed that people around you say, well, that's normal, kind of get on with it. You know, you don't need to change anything. It's just what you have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't until I sort of I was on Twitter a lot because there's not much to do at 3 o'clock in the morning, but people doing the night feeds and things are quite active at that time of night. So it wasn't until I was on there and realising that other babies aren't like that. Other babies were sleeping through the night at her age, or waking up once maybe, but every 20 minutes wasn't normal or typical for a baby. So that really helped.
Just make you see that there was, something else you could look into and maybe improvements that then could be made.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember who it was that introduced me to you. I owe her a lifetime of gratitude, whoever it was. But she sort of said, get in touch with Lisa, see if there's anything that she can suggest. And we started emailing and making contact. And you had just written the book. I don't think it had even been published. I think it wasn't until a few months later that you'd actually been published.
Yeah.
And you suggested all these different things to try and, make sure she's going to sleep in our cot rather than, going out for drives and hoping for the best and, stick to the routine and do this, that, and the other. And it totally worked. And I think it only took 3 or 4 nights before she was going to bed happily by herself with her muslin square and going off to sleep by herself. And I was like a new woman. I didn't know what to do with myself.
All this time on your hands suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, even when you've got a baby into a routine and they're sleeping well, you're still going to have things like teething and illness and things like that. But did you find that having a routine just made it much easier to deal with those things anyway and kind of know when she was poorly, when she was teething, because it wouldn't have been typical for her to wake up frequently anyway?
Yeah, massively. And especially when I had my second as well, because I followed, excuse me, I followed the Blissful Baby routine from the start. So I knew that if she was unsettled or she wasn't going down for a nap or she wasn't going to sleep without fussing, I knew that that was going to be teething. So I knew to give her a little bit of Ambisol, maybe a little bit of Nurofen Calpol if I thought that it was bad enough. And I was able to deal with that rather than endlessly rocking it.
Well, yeah, exactly. You found the difference between kind of starting from the start with your second baby, whereas with the first, you kind of had to do all of that hard work later on, didn't you? But with your first baby, it makes your second baby, sorry, it makes it much easier if you can kind of structure things from the start and you don't end up in that cycle of hourly waking or 20-minute rocking, do you? It makes it much easier.
Yeah, it's a massive difference between the two of them because
Mm-hmm.
Layla being my first, obviously you don't know what to expect. But like I say, by the point she was waking up every 20 minutes, I knew that that couldn't necessarily be right. With Amelia, yeah, being in the routine from the beginning, preempting what she needed, knowing what her hunger cues were and being on that, making sure that she wasn't awake for more than a couple of hours and making sure she was sleeping when she needed to be sleeping and sticking to that schedule as much as I could made a huge, huge, huge difference to her. She was a much, much happier baby than Layla was. And to us as well, we were much happier as parents. It was much easier to work our day around her and knowing, she goes to sleep at this time and this time, so we need to do this. I got into such a lovely little routine of, for our morning nap, walking up to baby clinic to get her weighed, because it was exactly half an hour, 45 minutes. So she would fall asleep in the pram, we would have a lovely walk, and I would wake her when we got up to baby clinic, and she would be happy and bright and chatty with the midwife, and it was lovely. We had a lovely little routine.
Yeah, and a lot of people worry that having a routine means that you're just stuck in the house all the time, that you can't go out and about, that you can't, your baby has to have every single nap in a cot and you're going to have no life. Obviously you've had two children, that one who you started the routine with a bit later and one who you started it with from the start. Did you ever feel like you had to be confined to the house?
No, not really. Obviously, right at the start of having my second, I kind of wanted to just be in the house because I was, after having a cesarean, it's a little bit tiring. But no, we used to go out on nice little walks, and like I say, we would have our morning walk, for our morning nap, and then she would have a long sort of lunchtime nap where I tend to be in the house anyway. And then for the late afternoon, sort of tea time nap, I would quite often, Layla was just at nursery then, so on her days off nursery, we would go for a walk. So she would just be on a scooter and I would have Amelia in the pram and we would go for a little walk around the block while she had that nap. Because I found that she wouldn't settle in the cot for that nap anyway. So
No, a lot of them don't.
yeah, so that was kind of and if it was raining and rubbish, she would go in our baby swing, highest speed, she would swing away with the music on and have a nap then. So no, I didn't
Brilliant.
ever feel like I was kind of stuck in the house and I don't ever feel like I missed out on any baby groups or plans or things like that. There was some baby groups that I couldn't do because they were at, 9 o'clock in the morning, where I'd be like, no, that's not going to work for us because she's going to be overtired, she's not going to enjoy it. But then I would just find another baby group that was later in the day. So I don't feel like I
Yeah.
missed out.
Well done. And Becca is actually one of my what I call my admin mums now, aren't
I
you?
am, yeah.
So she's one of the original mums who I helped, and obviously she's got a lot of experience now with her two children, but also helping me over the years with helping other mums, and she helps to advise the mums on our private Facebook group, to give them some advice, just to take some of the pressure off me, with all the advice. So thank you for helping with that. We've got a few features that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, and you might come up with any advice. The first feature that we've decided that we're going to feature each week is like a mum or parent hack of the week. So we'd be quite happy for people to write in with advice on what is their biggest parenting hack that they can think of. Is there anything, I'm putting you on the spot here, but is there anything you can think of off the top of your head before I kind of suggest a couple that we've had sent in?
Mind kind of blown. This sounds so crazy. This came out as a hack a couple of years after I'd done it. I didn't realize that it was a hack, but it was when you have a little baby and you've got a lot of the bodysuits. It
Yep,
was when you dry them, to get your drying rack and to hang them with like the poppers over the
yep.
metal bits on the
Over the drying
rack.
rack. Yep.
Apparently that was a hack. I didn't know. I just thought that saves a lot of space.
Yep.
And also with the bodysuits, if you have a poo explosion,
Hmm.
to the shoulders expand, and they expand to the width of your baby essentially, so you can pull it down over the baby rather than over the head, and obviously risk getting poo everywhere in their hair
All
and
in the
things like
hair.
that. So go down and
Exactly
over.
that. Exactly that. That was one of the ones that somebody sent in.
Oh, is
Exactly. So when
it?
you've got poo, yeah, when you've got poo literally up to the neck, if you, instead of pulling the vest up over the head, you just pull it down, and then you can put that in the wash. Or there were definitely occasions where I took one look at the vest and thought, I'm not even washing that. That one's going in the bin. I can't even deal with that.
Yeah,
Um,
we had that. We were driving to Reading, because I live up in Newcastle, and we were
mhm.
driving down to Reading, so it was like a 6 hour journey. And Layla was a newborn; she was only about 4 weeks old, and she pooed in the car. So we pulled, we went to the services and changed her, and she had these beautiful. They were little Marie from the Aristocats pajamas on.
Yeah.
Ruined. Just there was just no way. So they went in the bin there. The other hack that I've just remembered that I thought of, a lot of parents find that they not necessarily babies, but more like when they're one-ish, start taking their nappies off in
Mhm.
the night.
Yeah.
So a good hack that I found was to put their sleep suits on backwards and the nappy on backwards, because they can't get around to undo it. So
Very
that's quite a
good.
good hack.
Yeah, very good idea. And another one which we've been sent in for the whole poo explosion thing. Lots of poo talk on here. I think people will find that's a very regular chat that we have. Is that Milton? A lot of people, you can buy the Milton bottles. Kind of, some people use Milton for sterilising, Milton tablets,
Mm.
but you can buy a bottle of Milton liquid. And for white washing, if you've got white baby grows or white bibs, you can actually soak them in Milton and then wash them afterwards, and apparently it really works to get all of the completely yellow poo stains out. Good for weaning as well when you've got orange carrot stains.
Oh, that's a fab. I'll probably still use that now. And Amelia's 4, but I'll probably still use
Wow.
that now. That's a good one.
I know. I only found about that recently. You see so many people with lots of beautiful white t-shirts on, and I always think to myself, how does your child keep that t-shirt so clean? It's usually you've got stains and
Mm.
and all sorts, and I kind of end up throwing them away after a period and buying a new one. But I'm definitely going to be trying that one now. But just note, it's only on white, completely white things. Don't use it on coloured things, because it will stain and you'll get the speckled stains.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, like it's bleached it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of parenting hacks for people to use. One of the other features we were going to do as a regular was most embarrassing parenting moment. So I've got one here that I can read. Have you got anything you can think of off the top of your head that you have or not?
I don't. I'm not easily embarrassed. I don't know. I think sometimes kids are just kids, and I just kind of laugh it off. I'm just not easy. It's probably my partner would probably completely disagree and say, no, there was the time that one of them said this in the middle of the shop or things like that. But no, I can't think of any.
I remember one occasion with us, we went on holiday and we go to this same caravan park every year, and it has a big lion called Louis the Lion. They've changed it now and it's a different character now, but years ago it was always Louis the Lion, and Jack was only about 2.5, 3 at the time, and he loved this lion. But you know what they're like when they're toddlers? They love them from a distance, don't they? He was like, okay, I'm okay with you over there, but don't come too close to me. And we were walking around the caravan park, and we were just going through the under one of the kind of aisles through there, and we'd just been and got an ice cream. So my husband's walking in front, and Jack was kind of walking next to me, but between me and my husband, kind of walking along with his ice cream. And this lion came out of the side entrance of the clubhouse, came out and kind of started walking towards him. And I just remember Jack kind of turning around and me going to him, oh, look, Jack, there's Louis. And he just took one look at him and ran with this ice cream full on into my husband's bag.
Oh, no.
And he had ice cream all over his bum. My husband was covered in ice cream, and the fear in Jack's face was just like, I just have to get away from this giant lion. So that was my husband's probably most embarrassing moment, in that he had ice cream all over his bottom, his back, legs, everything, and he was like, oh great, okay, now I have to walk back to the caravan like this, covered in ice cream. All because he freaked out that he'd seen this lion not running towards him, just kind of coming towards him waving, and it totally freaked him out. Bless him.
It's so common though, like Layla was scared of anyone dressed up when she was that sort of toddler age, because I remember Peppa Pig, I think it was at the soft play once. It turned out it was a man dressed as Peppa Pig, which is very strange because he walked past me talking obviously in a man voice, so that was very odd. But Layla was absolutely terrified of anyone sort of dressed up with a mask on or a head on. Now she she's 8 now, so she's a lot older, but now she absolutely loves dressing up. But when she was sort of 2 or 3, absolutely terrified of anyone dressed up.
Yeah, well, they're quite big, aren't they? Characters, when they're dressed up and they've got these big heads on. Even something like Father Christmas, Santa Claus, they go through a stage, all of them go through a stage where, you're always telling our children not to go near strangers, and yet you're trying to encourage them to go up to a strange man with a great big white beard.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, I don't think I want to do that.
I've got some cracking photos of Layla when she was that age, screaming on Santa's lap, bless her. Probably totally traumatized her for life. But it is very strange, because we sort of say, like you say, if don't talk to that stranger, and then you say like, oh, talk to this stranger because he's the one that gives presents. So it is very confusing for them. But yeah, she was the same.
Bless her. One of the embarrassing parenting moments we've had sent in, I'll just read it out to you. So it says, 20 weeks pregnant, and this mum's asked to be anonymous because she hasn't told anyone about it. Is very embarrassed about it. 20 weeks pregnant on a flight with my 16-month-old on my lap the whole time. I was wearing a floaty dress and underwear. I also put a panty liner on, as I was constantly worried if I sneezed or coughed I would leak. We've all been there with pregnancy and birth, right? When I got off the plane, I went straight to the toilet at the airport and found the panty liner was gone. Absolutely mortified at the thought it was stuck on the seat I'd sat on for 2.5 hours straight, dying inside.
Oh no!
So yeah, I mean, hopefully it didn't get noticed as she went out, but obviously she didn't realise until she'd got to the toilet that it was missing. Long live panty liners with wings. Hey,
yes, amazing.
Stay in a bit better.
Do you know what? I quite liked after giving birth, I like the ones that essentially mattresses, the really thick ones that you get.
Yeah.
They're very comfy.
Yeah, definitely. For straight after birth, you need something thick, don't
Definitely.
you?
And you certainly would notice losing one of those.
Well, I think that's all we've probably got time for today, but thank you for joining me and having a chat with us about your experiences anyway. It's been
Thank
good
you.
to
It's been
catch up.
lovely. It's been really, really nice. And it's nice to be able to, obviously, I know that I help out as admin. I don't get to, do it as much now as we did sort of back in the early days.
Yeah.
Especially because the community's kind of grown now. So quite often I'll go on and people have already answered. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there we go. That's, you guys know what you're doing. So you don't need me.
Yeah, well, that was the whole point we started it, wasn't it? To have kind of that place. So on our private Facebook group, they are people who follow the Blissful Baby Expert routine anyway, and have had a membership with me previously. So yeah, we've got probably upwards of 800 mums on there now. Mainly mums. I think probably I would say there's only about 10 dads as far as I know. So there's not many dads, and the dads tend to keep quiet and let the mums do all the talking anyway.
Probably for the best.
They probably just mute us most of the time, don't they? But yeah, no, it's a great place where everybody can help each other. And that's the point of the podcast, why we wanted to do it, just to kind of talk about different areas that people are interested in, to try and help as many people as possible and give some advice that other people can go on and use with their little ones.
Yeah, and I think it's nice as well to know sort of who you're talking to and who's giving you advice. And it is great. Obviously, Layla was kind of one, like you say, one of the earliest ones, and it's how much it's grown over the past few years. It's just, obviously you've got the 2 books. It's absolutely amazing. So, and thank you for everything that you do, because especially with having my second, the routine was down pat because of you. Don't think we could have got through it otherwise.
You're
So
welcome.
thank you.
No, you're welcome. Well, I always say I'm just the teacher. You guys are the ones who have to do all the hard work. I can give you all the tools and the advice to say, how to do it, but you guys are the ones who have to do all the hard work to do it. So well done on persevering with it. Patience and perseverance is our motto generally, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And it works. It really does.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd just like to say thank you to Becca again for joining us today. It was great to share all of your tips and advice. And obviously, if any of you have got any stories or regular features you think it would be good for us to share in the podcast each week, then drop us an email to the address in the podcast description, or you can find me on Instagram at blissfulbabyexp1 and send me a message there, or via the website. And we'll talk to you all again soon. Bye for now.